Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 145 of The Grove Podcast. Thank you for listening and I hope you're all doing very well, enjoying the build up to Christmas if that's your bag, and if it's not, then I just hope you're enjoying whatever it is that you do at this time of year. And joining me on today's pod is Jamie. How are you? Have you got much Christmas shopping to do yet? Hey, are you ready for the big day?
I feel like I've got the big ones out of the way, but there's just that creeping sense that I've forgotten somebody or something. So, we'll see how that develops over the next 24 hours. As we reach the point of the last delivery for Christmas, that's probably the point that I'll work it out, yeah.
Okay, well, the armoury is open until Christmas Eve, so you've always got that. Whether someone likes it or not.
Ways for me to lose a girlfriend. That's
I know those Stanley Cups are pretty nice, so and cost a pretty penny too. But there we go. And you can always cover it with something else. But anyway, enough of that. In today's pod, we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to do something a little bit different or something new, where we're going to do a bit of a section where I've been thinking about things recently, maybe a bit too much, and I've got a couple of worries to raise with Jamie, and a couple of things I'm hopeful about with regards to the current state of Arsenal and how we're doing at the moment, and how we see the rest of the season panning out. So gonna have a bit of a chat about that. And then after that, we'll finish with a preview of the Everton game, which is coming up Saturday evening, 8:00. But even before we get to those two things, there's a couple of things. First off, last night, there was the Carabao Cup draw. Now, we're all fingers crossed, hoping for Fulham, Cardiff and Brentford all to get results. Unfortunately, that was our hearts ruling our heads. And in fact, Chelsea won easy and Man City won easy and Newcastle just about made it. But there we go. So we get drawn against that clown car of a club, Chelsea, which, I don't know. For me, I think it was the best out of the three. If you're gonna ask me, least amount of travel, and I think the easiest of the three games, if you can call it easy. But what's your reaction to that draw? Now, granted, we need to beat Palace first in the first place, and my instinct is bin it, let Palace have it. But what are your thoughts on that Chelsea potential matchup in January and February?
So my thoughts are immediately, it is an instant reaction because I wasn't aware of that news.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Nice to know.
Good.
I love coming on and being informed. I think that's an interesting one, isn't it? So Chelsea, and it's at the Bridge, yeah.
Well, it's home and away. So we Chelsea. So we play Chelsea,
isn't it? So it's be
double head. So we play them first on the week of the 12th of January, and then our home leg is on the week of the 2nd of Feb. Now we play Portsmouth in the FA Cup before that, and Forest away after. On the first leg, and before the second leg we played Leeds, and then after the game we played Sunderland. So not the toughest of fixtures.
That looks pretty kind, doesn't it? To be honest, in a lot of respects, I think. I mean, as you say, first we've got to get through Palace, which is an interesting conundrum at this point in time. Actually, about Palace are looking very good, and they will be very keen on this because it is a route to Europe, and we have to go. And we have to have them come to our place and for us to beat them to even get there in the first place. And I do think Palace is going to be a really interesting challenge. It's at that time of year where, results kind of can be a bit skew-if with all sorts of teams. It's just a bit of a weird time of year for football. Lots of games equals a bit of randomness thrown in. You don't want to be betting around this time, I find.
Yeah.
And to be frank, like that good a team to have to put out a really good team that needs to go and beat them in the League Cup at this time of year isn't ideal. It's an interesting draw. I think by the time we get to Chelsea, I had kind of spotted January and felt that period of time looks like it's a very winnable moment in the season, right? But it's Chelsea, innit? They're looking pretty decent. They looked better than us for large sways of that.
Oh yeah, they did beat us 1-1. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, Look,
we're not going to relitigate that. But
we don't want to relitigate that game, but they looked really good. And
Caicedo's going to be missing the first leg as well,
which is handy, really handy. But yeah, I don't know. I think the key thing that we'll need against Chelsea, and I think this is what I felt was massively missing against Chelsea, is I would really like to see Kai Havertz there. I feel like he's the secret sauce against Chelsea. I think we need somebody of that caliber playing in that position and able to drop in and able to bring the kind of style that he brings to that game. And we probably also need a Martin Odegaard return to form as well, personally. I think that's somebody that we need to be in better shape by that point in the season. So am I happy about the draw? Chelsea's a bit of a bastard.
Well, I mean, your choice is like, you say you got Man City, you got Newcastle, you got Chelsea.
It's Butch's choice. So
yeah.
Happy with it. I mean, I'd rather it was like City and Chelsea together. That'd be great. Yeah. But mind you, at the same time, there's also, had it been Newcastle, then we've got very recent, thoughts and feelings on how difficult and damaging that was last season. Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily massively confident for it. Only purely because I just look at it and just think we're competing on so many fronts, and I just feel like it's a little bit like last season when we played Newcastle, and you're like, how are we going to have that extra 10% that you need to go out and win those big games in the competition that you probably give the least toss about, right?
Yeah, I mean, the final is March 16th, and we've got Brighton Hove Albion away before that game. The Everton game would be matching that, so that at home that would be moved, and we got Wolves after. So again, it all seems very manageable at the time, but it's the cumulative effect, and I guess it depends on the state of our squad. If we've got a fully fit, fully firing squad, everyone's back, then that's the whole point of having these squads, and let's utilize it. So it doesn't feel as bad as last year when we sort of seemed to be on our last legs and we had tough fixtures around it and stuff like that. So let's see. As you said, we got to get through Palace first, which is next Tuesday. Palace, they will be on the back of like 3 or 4 games in like 2 days or something like that. I think they've got a double header one, I don't know. But so they got all that going on. So let's just see. I said, of the 3 games, I think it's less of evil. It's in London, so less impact in terms of travel, which small details at this time of year can make a difference. I think of the 3 teams to play in a cup competition, I think they're the easier of the teams. So let's see. Anyway, let's worry about that if it comes to it. As I said, my instinct is to bin it, let Palace have it, and we can put our feet up. Because not saying I want us to lose, but if we lose against Palace, I'm not going to be sort of shedding too many tears. Of course, I want us to win.
Also, though, we lose, you've got to go through Christmas with us having lost. You know what I mean?
But it's losing to Palace. So there's also the projecting is I'd rather lose to Palace before Christmas than Chelsea in the New Year. Because since they beat us 1-1, it's been insufferable online. It's just been ridiculous, and I just couldn't deal with that. But anyway, we'll worry about that when it comes to it. So we'll leave that for now. We're just interested to see what your thoughts were, and then also we didn't get to speak after the Wolves game. So I just wanted to get your thoughts just very quickly. It was a few days ago, obviously. There's been a lot of talk, which always happens to fill the space when we don't play midweek, and the result, the performance, the reaction to it. Yeah, there's been a lot of discourse around it. So yeah, what were your general thoughts in terms of how we played and the result on Saturday evening? I mean, you were there, so yeah.
It was shite. We were shite. Wolves are shite. That was the worst thing. Wolves weren't really good.
No,
I think that was probably the most.
I'm going to clip that up.
The main reflection that I had by a mile was I was super disappointed with us letting them get their shots and crosses away in that period where they scored. I was actually all right with just it being a horrible, stale game against a crap team that are reorganising under a new manager. And we've been there and we've done it. And it's one of those, and you just grind it out and you get it done. But as part of that game plan, you need to be able to kill the game. And we didn't kill the game. You can do one of 2 ways. You push and you get your second goal. Or alternatively, you just don't let them have the ball because they're not very good and we are. and we can keep the ball. And essentially, and key part being there as well, we're at home, right? Key part being we're at home. It felt like we were the away team in that respect. I just don't really understand how much of the ball they had for that little period of time. And they looked so unthreatening with it, but I literally, me and the bloke next to me, chatting away during the game, and just said, all it takes is a deflection at this point, doesn't it? It's all it takes. Just takes a horrible ricochet, horrible deflection, and that's what happens. And it was so, that felt really, really, really frustrating and disappointing and made me kind of angry. And then, massive relief, obviously, when we go at the other end and Jesus, unfortunately, doesn't get himself a goal, but, it's chalked up as the own goal. But
were you celebrating with full gusto, or did you still have a tinge of we've got away with this and therefore you can't fully throw yourself into the celebration? It feels a bit embarrassing celebrating so heartily.
Yeah, a bit of a tinge, and it's been a very anticlimactic game all the way through. Weird as well, a strange atmosphere for the Emirates for an 8:00 kickoff on a Saturday, when everyone's had the chance to go to the pub and whatever. It did feel, it was tense and it was nervous and it was boring. Is the main thing. It was more the fact that it was boring more than anything else. I think that, things did feel somewhat subdued. And I just sort of immediately was like, well, that's better at least. At least I can go down the pub and have a chat about that and go, well, at least we didn't lose. And not
I believe I saw you at the pub. I don't know, it was so bloody dark in the Lamb, but...
Well, shortly before you made your Irish exit, yeah.
That was my son desperately needing transportation assistance and funding. So sorry.
That's a parent's duty. In fairness, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, so it wasn't good. It wasn't fun. It wasn't a day that I was happy to be in the Emirates, particularly. It was just all round a bit shy, but we got away with it. And then the last part that I'll say on it is my reflection on it almost immediately afterwards was, you have those games. You do have those games. And in the games we dropped points recently, I don't feel like this game is that typical of them. I just think it's just one of those. Nothing felt like we were fully up for it. Nothing felt like we had that little bit. Something was missing, and sometimes those things happen. And if you can get out of them with 3 points, then you should be feeling pretty relieved. And a little part of you feels quite delighted. The little pragmatist in you feels really delighted, even if the romantic and the everything that's the emotional side goes, that was shy. Yeah. The pragmatist in you just goes, yeah, you got to feel happy about that. If you can have that game and take 3 points, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I don't think we underestimated Wolves, because you're right, they are very, very, very poor. I think it's a culmination of two things. One, they got humiliated on TV, on the Monday night 4-1, and it's always the case that the game after they've like, right, we're just going to do everything we can not to get humiliated again, and away from home, and they can structure themselves better. And against us, if we don't get the early goal, because if we get the early goal, then the same issues will come with Wolves, and they'll drop their heads and all the rest of it. But because we didn't get that early goal, and we didn't do that, they started carrying on believing. So, this is working. And look, our kryptonite is low blocks. So a combination of that with our inability to take our chances or create a great amount, it's just a combination of a few things. Now, in terms of their own goals, they come from our pressure. So it's not like the own goal from the corner. If it doesn't hit the goalkeeper, and I think we've got 2 players on the line going to put that in. The header, okay, Jesus, great cross. Jesus is putting a guy under pressure. He heads it, and he had it. So it's not like someone turned around and booted it into their own net. So we were part of those. It's just they got the final touch. But yeah, I think it was the culmination of things, and I think I'll touch on a few bits in a bit in terms of the worried bit. But what about, I don't know if you've seen, Gyökeres seems to be getting a lot of the heat. He seems to be this sort of lightning rod around this, just because, again, it seems to be another sort of stale performance, not much output, and just also in terms of how the team are trying to play to him or not playing to him. Are we giving him the chances to shine, or are we expecting him to do more? Or is it a bit of both? But the one thing that I see is that I don't feel like the team trust him.
I'd agree.
And they're not like, there's two things: don't trust him, and also we're not used to playing with that sort of player. So it's that combination of things that means everything's always a bit too late, so therefore the defenders can mark him easy, or they can track him better, or it's not. And I think Arteta alluded to this, and he's saying it's a joint responsibility. He has to take his chances, but we need to find him. We need to find him quicker and better and be more precise. And I just think in football at this level, even if your Wolves are shite, they're still the 24th 20th best team in the country, and which would make them one of the better teams across Europe, etc., etc. And they can play football and so on and so on. So it's just that even just that 1% off just gives Doherty a chance to get ahead or mark him out. So I don't know. Now I know you're not his biggest fan, and not his biggest fan, but you want more, you expect more, and you hope for more. But yeah, you said you sort of agree they don't trust him. Are you seeing that as well? That we're sort of just not feeding to his strengths?
Yeah, 100%. I think there have been times. To be honest, I don't think there's been enough missed runs and whatever. Though, if you go through the various, there's been a lot of articles, been a lot of tweet threads, whatever. Folks kind of going. The classic one is obviously the Odegaard missed pass, where Gyökeres goes one way and Odegaard goes the other way. I actually felt there's some reason for Odegaard to do that anyway, because the point is that Gyökeres is taking a man with him. But there's been a whole bunch of things that have been highlighted, but still not that many. Like the number of runs that he's made that haven't been spotted, that where he's in a prime opportunity, has been like 3. It's not in the realms of multiple times every single game. And if I'm honest, I think part of that is, I don't see him doing enough in there necessarily. I think it's a bit like strikers talk about it all the time. You have to make like 4 runs for one of them to be picked out. And I don't think there's enough of them. And maybe some of that is game state. And again, it's suitability of that player to the game state. The kind of movement that benefits us is actually the kind of movement that we see out of other guys that have played up front for us at times. Maybe instead of peeling off, you're going for the near post or whatever. But it doesn't feel to me like I'm watching him and I'm going all the time, I'm frustrated that nobody's finding him. It doesn't feel that way to me at all.
Okay.
And I do think the trust could definitely be an issue. And I think part of that might be, and some of the stats have been highlighted, I think there was one on one of the Sky shows the other day with him losing 48% of the time, he's losing possession. Now, part of that, I think, is what he's getting on the end of a lot of the time, because he's not being picked out in the build-up play, because it's not really his strength. He's not being picked out other times. He generally is either, if you're playing like he is a full 9, you're either getting it lumped up to you some of the time, or you're dealing with knock-ons, you're dealing with kind of 50-50s, you win it, you then lose possession, whatever, or you're going to try and make a chance out of it. So losing possession is not necessarily, I think, the worst thing in the world, as a stat for that kind of out-and-out number 9. I am concerned about the eye test around that, though. I don't see him make use of the ball properly. I see him in particular, his first touch take him away from possession, away from his other players, or into places where his opportunity to do something with the ball afterwards is far less optimal. So I think if I was one of the players, I would trust him less. And I wonder as well whether maybe he is, without a shadow of a doubt for me, the least technical outfield player in the team, and I would probably include some of the defence in that, if I'm honest. I don't think of our current team, I don't think we've had a less technical player playing for us, and somebody can tell.
Even Ray's got a better touch at times.
Honestly, I think probably since like Rob Holding, I think we're talking like that level of technical quality. He has loads of other bits to offer, absolutely, and I see a lot of them. But I think if you think about players earning trust in training in particular, if you've got someone who's just not on the same technical playing field as the rest of the team, in what is quite a technician heavy side, do they look at that and go, I don't fancy this lad?
Yeah, it's a bit like that Roy Keane story, isn't it? I don't know which player we're talking about when he fires the ball at them and expects them to control it, sort of thing, and that's your initiation. I mean, yeah, look, I think we're still figuring out how to play with him. I think also he potentially a confidence player. So again, the more confident you are, the more you run, the more you try things, the more you do things, the more you make yourself available rather than hide or keep it simple. I feel like he gets a bit bodied easily. He's meant to be this big unit, but our centre backs in the Premier League are also big units, and they know how to handle themselves. So he's sort of coming along, and again, coming from the Portuguese league, and he's up against that now. And okay, he's shone in Europe, but again, Europe seems to be a bit softer in inverted commas, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. I think it's a culmination of things, and I was hoping he was going to kick on after Newcastle, where he was excellent. After Burnley, he was excellent, and but after he got injured. But you think, okay, fine, you had your benchmark, now kick on. But he seems to have regressed, culminating in how Arsenal have regressed as well. So I think there's a player there. I think there's something's gonna, it can click. Something's gonna happen, and this is gonna. So we're gonna move on to the section about being worried about, and I've had quite a few, but I've landed on sort of three. But also, it was interesting that how he was better when Trossard came on, just for that little bit, versus when he was playing with Martinelli. Type stuff. So
it makes perfect sense, right? Trossard's somebody who can be he's more of a wide playmaker in some respect versus Martinelli is just another. He's a very good footballer in lots of respects, Gabriel Martinelli, and I enjoy him, but he's not. I'm not looking at him as a Victor Gyökeres and going, this is the guy who's going to really give me some clean ball. Like he's not very playmaker. Like he can be very head down, and his crossing's not exactly phenomenal. So every forte of delivering something to the man, I don't think Martinelli necessarily possesses.
No, indeed. So worry number one was that I'm worried about recent team selections, and I'm worried about Arteta's team selections going forward. And so some examples that I'm picking on, it was that there was no MLS versus Wolves, and the knock-on effect on that was that White, after playing 3 games, he played and then he got his injury, and I don't think this is hindsight. This is White coming back from injury, playing 3 solid games. And Arteta said he had no choice. Well, he did have a choice. He could have put Timber out there. He could have played Saliba, Hincapié, MLS. And eventually MLS does come on, And then even Martinelli against Wolves. Wolves, we knew they were going to play a dirty low block, the lowest of low blocks. Martinelli does not do well against low blocks. Now, granted, Trossard might not be able to start, but then fine, put Eze out on the left, or even Madueke, who's a direct runner, who's a bit more, just driving into the box and a bit more of a chaos merchant. You're a bit uncertain what's going to happen. And another example was against Villa when he played Eze Marino against Villa, who we know sort of play a high line, leave space in behind. So this is more in the game for Nelly and Gyökeres, to exploit that. So I don't know, is it just the knock-on effect of injuries and we're managing that? Is Arteta having issues? In my mind, he's not picking the right starting 11s. Don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, a little bit of all of the above, I guess. I think it's interesting. I think some of them have obviously been forced upon him, right? Certain archetypes at the very least. So, you mentioned Marino versus Villa. And pray tell, who else were we going to stick up there for Villa necessarily? If it's Jock and he's half fit, I'm not necessarily feeling that. And out of form, half fit Jock, no, I want the geezer who looks like he's going to score goals and he's been playing better personally. Once you've got Marino there, you probably decide who else you want around him, right? And you probably are going, I can understand the Eze through the middle thing where you go, then you're potentially going to, or you're playing out the left, I guess. You're potentially looking for those kind of special moments, if you like. And in particular, thinking of Marino winning duels in particular areas and what that can do in terms of the space that it leaves for Eze positions that he likes. I don't know. It's hard to say. That the game plan quite often can be difficult to detect with Arteta, I think. And sometimes it works and you don't know when you called out prior that you really didn't think it would. You see the team selection, you go, oh, fucking hell, we're doing that. We're playing this very flat-looking midfield. Oh, but they've absolutely dominated it. And, we've gone on to win the game as a result. I struggle to necessarily say that it's a worry for me.
Okay.
Because I have quite a lot of trust in Arteta, and I think also a lot of the selections are really forced on him at the moment. I think he's struggling to pick just, this is the 11 that I would pick for this game with 100% fitness. But I do also see where you're coming from.
Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows his start? Do you think he knows his start? If he had everyone fit, do you think he knows his primary starting 11?
I think obviously it would be based on form at the time, won't it? But no, I don't necessarily think he does, because I think a lot of the combinations haven't really played together. That's the thing. We've had, everybody that you would say is a candidate for the first 11 has probably played over half the games that we've had this season, but have they played in the combinations that we necessarily want to see? And we want to understand, what the relationship of we have no idea what the relationship between Ezra and Havertz is, for instance. I think that's probably the main bit that's missing in that respect. So I totally forgive him for that as well. And in fairness, managers very rarely, in the modern era in particular, get the opportunity to pick the best 11. Like that is a thing. But we've had new players come into the squad. We've had a lot of them have to play quite a lot of minutes this season. I don't think I realised just how many the likes of some of them were going to end up playing. And I think you can forgive him a little bit of working out still to do in terms of what that looks like.
Okay, no, fair enough. No, it makes sense. It's just, just sometimes little things irk me, and you think, come on, But there we go. As I say, we don't know behind the scenes. The MLS one is the one that stands out the most, and that's the one for me against Wolves. It just didn't make any sense. It seemed to be taking a bit too much of a risk. And I think he regrets that now. If you were to ask him, but there we go. So and look on that. So moving on to number two, worry number two. Are you worried that injuries will eventually just derail our season? Will they take their toll? Look, we are top of the league. We're top of the Champions League. We're also apparently top of the 2025 injuries table. So that's a third league on top of. But do we get a trophy for that? Yeah, I'm not too sure. But we can only manage for so long. Our backups are great. They are actually amazing. But there's still a drop-off, and they're backups for a reason. And, especially if you have to play them constantly. If you play them once or twice, that's fine. But even that drop a small percentage can make a difference. Are you worried that eventually the injuries?
I just think that's a normal worry. Just that's who gets injured when and for how long is a modern football worry. And ultimately the one that I've been most concerned with is obviously we have seen that you only want to lose one of the two centre halves, don't you? You don't want to lose both. You lose one of them, you're feeling really comfortable because one of the two lads pops into centre half and you're looking good. It was really super weird to get to a point where Christian Norgard is even turning out in a European game at centre half, because good God, the amount of centre half experience we've got in this football club. Because even if you take out, even if you get past Calafiori and Timber, who've played there plenty, and then you've got Ben White, and then you've got Declan Rice, played a lot of centre half for West Ham. Mikel Merino played centre half at Borussia Dortmund. Which admittedly is the Mikel Merino just plays anywhere, doesn't he?
I bet he's got a pair of gloves in his kit bag as well.
He played with kind of a libero-ish kind of centre half at Dortmund for a bit, which again I think was due to injuries at their end. But yeah, so we've got shit tons of experience at centre half, but it is that thing about the partnership in and of itself. And I actually had this, so it's interesting in terms of how our worries compare, because I had defensive injuries as mine, more specific, really. Yeah. I'm far less worried about injuries elsewhere in the team, funnily enough. And it is really what I'm pointing to is I don't want one of Gabriel and Saliba not to be there. And I had that linked to my next point, which is leadership. Mm-hmm. And I think we've really missed that at times. I think Gabriel's leadership, and maybe even Saliba's quiet leadership, but leadership of the defence, because that is a thing. We talked about before, centre halves they talk everyone else through the game. If they've got a centre half that plays less, he gets talked through by the lad next to him. He tells the fullback what to be doing as well. Everybody kind of gets in line with whoever those defensive leaders are. And I think Gabby is the number one defensive leader. And then Saliba is also, again, even just his assuredness and he does talk. Despite the fact he seems like a really quiet lad because he barely talks off the pitch, he does talk plenty on the pitch. He's not as vociferous as Gabriel, but he does talk. And those things will 100% will have a massive impact. So injuries wise, I'm a bit more focused, I think, necessarily, because otherwise it's what you got to deal with, and we've got shitloads of backup. You have to put out the team you have to put out.
But are you worried at this moment in time that it's going to derail our season? Yeah, again, it's amazing we're at the top of where we are.
Me, though. That's just the thing. Like if you get injuries to key players at bad moments, then it will derail your season. That's football. So I'm not. It's not. I don't think that's in the current review of where the Arsenal are. That it's one of my top concerns about this Arsenal. My linked concern is Gabriel or Saliba, and it's the I can deal with one, I can't deal with both. That's where I go.
And it's more dealing with them.
Arsenal are right now.
It's dealing with them for a longer period of time. For one game, you can do, and if it's depending on the game and whatever it is, you can make do. I think it's the continuous effect. So if we were to miss them for 5 games together, we lose a few games, you wouldn't be surprised. It's frustrating, but that's right. So one game you can deal with it, 2 games you can deal with it, but then eventually the drop in quality and the knock-on effect that has is the issue. And
weirdly, I don't know how you feel about this, I don't miss them defensively even quite as much as I miss the combination of that leadership and then also their distribution. That's key. The difference in distribution when they're not there is marked. Like Mosquera, bless him, is the worst of the candidates to play there, unfortunately, in terms of distribution. But defensively, he's so very good. And got so many redeeming qualities. I love to see him there. And this is an area that he will improve, because Gabriel was not a fantastic distributor when he turned up at the Arsenal either. He didn't turn up and you went, God, look at the way that he steps out and plays that ball through the lines. Never did any of that shit. And he wasn't renowned for it. It wasn't part of the profile of player that we got. We got somebody who was relatively comfortable on the ball, but not like this is almost at times he feels like he's almost a playmaker in the team. He rather instead has developed those qualities, and Saliba's developed them further as well. Again, always comfortable, always good pass through the ball, but he's developed his and probably more than anything, it's the decision making. It's not actually the quality of pass. We don't ask them to make particularly technically difficult passes. It's almost the vision, the confidence, and the kind of the decision making. And that's
but it's also the relationships with the other players as well, because they know them, they know what they're going to do. When Mosquera's there, you're not 100% certain what you're going to do. You do it in training, but you know how you're going to receive it. It's a bit like Arteta changed the way Saka received the ball, and he knows he's confident from Saliba he's going to get it that way, or from Timber he's going to get it that way. It's multiple things that particularly those two offer us. It's not just we start our build up from them. We are basically, but also what have you noticed as well, when we were going through our really purple patch at the beginning of the season and we were worried about letting one, a shot on target, that's all we had to worry about. That they provided that sort of sense of an aura, they provided that sense of solidity. So they had that, but going forward, they also our attack starts with them, but also the way when we are attacking, the high line and the confidence that we can have with them as a high line makes such a difference. Have you noticed we're not winning the ball? Our out of possession play, off the ball work has not been great since Gabriel's out, because again we're not in the same positions. We're not reliant on there. So if you're going Gabriel's behind, okay, he got caught out once to Haaland, but bloody that's a robot against Man City, that can happen. But every other time, you remember, it's like we're camped in the final third. And that's Saliba and Gabriel that are the last 2 players in the final third. And we felt comfortable there. We felt confident. Now it feels like we're having to chase back a lot more. We're scrambling on more. Zubimendi's having to do a bit more chasing back. Ben White that's how he did to hamstring in from having to chase Hwang, for that chance against Wolves. Yeah, there's a lack of confidence there. So again, it's just all these sort of small knock-on effects that when the drop-off in standard and quality is just there, again, a couple of percent, but that's all it takes. And it may not be Hincapie's game. It may not be, Timber's game to play in such a way. And therefore they sit back a bit further. So then the spaces are bigger, and then that's harder to squeeze Tim's in. And therefore we're not winning the ball back, and then we're not turning over, then we're not creating the chances, we're not getting more goals. It's amazing just from the best centre-back in the world that can happen.
The shape and style of the team changes, right? Simple as that. And I'm not saying that either of these guys, if Gabriel and Saliba were to be sold, I'm not saying the other two couldn't develop, similarly.
No, but we'd have to change.
But, well, not necessarily. Maybe you would, you develop them, they get used to it over time, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But they're still new to it. And these are two guys on the other end that have developed this over years. So, I think that, so as I say, going back to the point, that's my take on that worry. It's not an unfocused. I think, to be honest, I could probably deal better with a Saka injury. I could probably deal better with those guys that we worried about that season could be over due to. I could deal better with a Saka injury. I could deal better with certainly an Odegaard injury. We've proven now, when we were very worried about that for a long time. Rice is maybe a little more of a concern, but I still, if you could give me almost anybody in the team, and even though the backups for Gabriel Saliba, if you give me an option of if one of them's already injured, and you say the other one's going to get injured, or you can pick someone else, I'll pick anyone else. Yeah. And that's the truth of it. I think that's for us to be successful in the current place that we are, or for us to be at our best, we need to have one of those two there at any given time. And when we don't, the quality drop off is immense. And I don't think anywhere else on the pitch that's to the same degree anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we've had just on top of that point, like in the last 5 games, or in a group of 5 games, we had 5 different front threes, 3 different midfield threes, and 5 different back fours. So you're right. If you've got that stability there, then maybe you can manage the change. Maybe you can manage a bit more the consistent performance. Okay, the cohesion's gone, but if you can provide that solid base, then all you need is that one goal, and you win the game. It's when we have multiple changes across all the lines, that's when it becomes difficult. So I'm a little bit worried that it will derail our season, and it's a valid reason, but people won't accept it. They'll see it as excuses, and then there's that knock-on effect. But we'll see. We get 1 or 2 back, and it could change very quickly. Football changes very, very, very quickly. So this leads me to my third and final worry, and this has also been noticeable from the last couple of games. Are you worried that we're not going to be able to handle the pressure, the expectation around winning the league? Especially with Man City now breathing down our necks. We were installed as favourites, after Liverpool won the league in September, and so on. But we're there, and everyone's saying it's ours to lose. We've got the best squad, and what we've been through the last couple of years. And it feels like, it felt like the Wolves game was the first time that it got to us mentally. And then also you saw the reaction to the Villa game, the last minute winner, the players distraught, prone on the pitch, banging the floor. And it just feels moments are getting really big. And, instead of saying, okay, you can be upset and you can be disappointed, but it's one game out of 38. To have that reaction, is that potentially too emotional? I don't know. Did we feel like Wolves, like we should be beating this? Why aren't we beating this team easy? What's going on? Instead of just like, okay, there's a calm. We don't seem to be playing with any freedom. We don't feel relaxed. I just feel like our desire to win is potentially crippling us, is making us tense, and that could have a knock-on effect. Instead of, City have been there, done that, so they can play with all the freedom in the world. We know we've got the potential in our grasp, and that I feel like it's crippling us a bit, and it might hamstring us for the rest of the season as the pressure ramps up. And that's just the players. As for the fans, geez, I can't cope at the moment as it is. So how do you feel about that? Are you sensing anything like that? Are you worried that we're not going to be able to cope with it?
Yeah, that's not a thing. That is a thing for sure. But again, I suppose looking at that is you kind of go, well, that's a mark of whether you're good enough to win it or not. That's a part of the criteria to go win a league. So you have to prove it. That's what we see, right? I mean, is it a concern? Yeah, it is. I think combined with maybe wondering about certain elements of leadership as well. I think in general the team's got a lot of leaders in it in various different faculties. You know, Declan Rice is absolutely a leader.
Well, did you see his reaction during the Wolves game? And he was not happy, and especially that period, he was doing a lot of like, "What the fuck is going on, lads? Come on!"
Yeah. And normally, I think Gabriel's a big part of that leadership group as well. Yeah. But certainly then I would also, I think there's then the slightly other leaders. So Saka's been captaining in the absence of Odegaard. I don't think Saka's a vociferous leader, right? What you do?
But he does it with his feet.
He does it with his feet a bit. He does a bit of leading by example, and I think he also does. He sort of always appeared to me to be a bit of a standards driver. Kind of look at players and go, not good enough. That needs to be better. Look what I'm doing, sort of thing. And I think Odegaard has always been this sort of bit of a team culture sort of driver, right? He's that sort of guy. And maybe once you've got all those in, I feel a little bit less worried about this. But when you are kind of swapping them in and out, and there's some guys coming in that haven't been around the culture of the club whatsoever for a bit, you don't necessarily have quite the same sense of togetherness, been through it before, passed that test at, on X night, away to whoever, then maybe sometimes the kind of the pressure can set in that little bit more. I think the key thing that you need as a player, I think, to deal with those kind of pressures is that confidence that the guy next to you is in it with you and has the quality and the character to get through it with you, right? That seems to be the bit that I take from a lot of ex-players talking about about kind of pressure and what happens. It's all driven by not so much at an individual level as if you've got that really strong collective team mentality, it overrides the individual mentality. You get carried away, right? And that does come down to who's available, who's in the treatment room, who's actually on the training pitch every day. And if you've got those absences of some of those key leaders, or even just some of those trusted guys, those guys that you're like, Julian Timber doesn't necessarily look to me to be a leader of men necessarily at this stage in his career. Yeah. But my God, you trust him. Like, my God, you really trust the fella, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And I think, maybe that might be a little bit missing. Maybe we just have had too many players in that aren't really, we've been through it and been through the trenches together. Maybe they've started earning that already. Maybe Wolves is a game where you say that they've sort of earned it because you got that in the difficult circumstance, but they're not quite there yet. And maybe that means the mentality is just a little lacking because people are looking at each other and going, do I trust them? Are they building, are we going to get through this? More so than just going, this is all right, lads. We've been through this before. Yeah. We haven't necessarily won the league, but we have done a load of these tests and we've won enough of them now that we feel like we'll win enough of them over the course of the year.
No, I think you make a good point about I think, again, the knock-on effect of it. Again, another knock-on effect of so many injuries and cluster injuries is you look to your left, who's there? Oh, it's him. I'm not sure about it. No, great player. So Saliba can go Hincapié. Brilliant player, great attitude and all the rest of it. But you said we've not been there and done that together. So you need to show me what you have, because he looks at Gabriel, right? I know exactly what I'm getting from him. I know what I'm doing there. So I think that there is an element of that there. Or again, trusting going forward. Right? Who's our front man? Right, Havertz. Going to give him the ball, right? He's not going to go and create stuff, but I know what he's going to do. I'm going to go here, I'm going to get it back, and go here, I'm going to get it to Saka, going to go there, blah blah blah. So I think that does make a massive difference. So I think mentally you're right. It does feel like there's a little crack in our aura. Again, I loved it when Brentford turned up and decided to drop half their team because they were playing Tottenham at the weekend, because that was what Villa did at Man City and stuff like that. And you want that aura you want to win the game in the tunnel beforehand. And I feel that until we win something, there's now got a crack, and there's Arsenal are back. That Arsenal. We can. There's vulnerable. They're vulnerable. They're not up for this. Whereas look, then the opposite's happening to City. They win a few games. They got spanked by Palace in the XG and still win 3-0. And then shit, City are back. So it's sort of like, and then the old tropes come back, or the old okay, actually, we'll give City a free pass. We'll go on to bigger and better things. So it just feels like we're in a bit of not a sliding doors moment so much, but there's just a small crack opening that could very easily be prized open if things go the wrong way. And I think we need to shut that up and get that aura back, because I said, when we were saying, oh my God, I can't believe we gave up a shot on target, which was Eddie Nketiah skimming off the ball skimming off his head. That makes a massive difference. If mentally we can win games, opposition can lose games mentally. So I think that is a bit of a worry that we need to. And I think maybe the Wolves game is maybe that turning point. Maybe like, right, lads, we're not letting that happen again. That's it. Never again. And sometimes you need that. And it's great to do it from a position of strength. Top of 2 leagues. We won that game. Much better doing it from a position of strength than it is from a position of having lost. All right, we go again, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think all of these worries still, I think they're valid. I think there's lots more, but they come from a position of strength. And I think I think it's just something that can be rectified, some easier than others. And if they do get rectified, then that leads us to our hopes. So there's also a lot to be hopeful about. We'll do these a bit quicker, and then maybe this sort of links with what we just said before. But so hope number one, we're getting our players back, and come January we should be in good shape. So. And as I said, we're top despite our injuries. How much hope does that give you? The likes of someone like Havertz coming back, for instance, who's played 20 minutes all season, or Big G coming back. Is that how hopeful that they'll come back and have an impact on the team?
I mean, I've got, again, in my little noddy list that I did, I've literally just got Havertz there, because I mean, I'm so hopeful for what Kai Havertz can do for us again. I've missed him so very much. It's been nearly a year, really, of barely seeing the guy play football.
Practically, yeah.
But it's also a bit of a hope, I guess, in that I took it quite literally with hope. There is a bit of it's not a certainty, is it? It's not necessarily things to look forward to as much as it's I really hope that Kai comes back and can hit the ground running and be somewhere close to where he was before he got injured. Because if he does, that is your like a new signing. That is that's the guy that you hoped you were going to get during the summer, a centre forward. To me, I think he's absolutely superb. So, massive hope for him. For the other players returning as well. By the way, liked Gabby Jesus against Wolves. Little bright spot. Nice to say. We've seen a couple of times now, and just a bit of vim and vigour and energy and bustle. And if I'm honest as well, probably starting my front over Gyökeres at the moment.
Interesting. We'll get to that in the Everton preview.
But I that's another hope for me as well. Is can Gabby Jesus just kind of keep coming on a little bit and be someone to offer us something for 20 minutes every couple of games? Can some of the guys that we can we start to see more of those impacts from some of the guys that are coming into the team that have been out? Madueke, who's had a good game and a everybody was crap game. There's a bunch of lads that hopefully will have an impact on this side of the season that we haven't seen much of, or have seen missing for long periods.
Yeah, I mean, my hope with that is that with Havertz, he's got treat now as like a bit of a pre-season. The December period, if you can get a few games, few minutes, a bit of pre-season coming to January and kick off. But we shouldn't expect too much too soon, again, because it's just the beginning. He's hardly played for a year. We got to ease him back in. I think it'll be from February onwards that we might see the real Havertz. My hope is around this is that when it comes to winning season, when it comes to March, April, May time, that actually our players are going to be pretty fit. they're not going to be fatigued, and some may, hopefully that some will, some may not, but some key players may not be like exhausted. So we've run out of steam a couple of years running. And maybe the fact that they've had time off, the fact they've had a bit of not being so intense, and we're playing teams like City, who played in the Club World Cup, Chelsea, PSG, Bayern Munich. All of a sudden, they had a 12-month season last season, and all of a sudden, it may be us who are a bit fresher, And if we can get a bit of advantage in the league, and then we can sort of, chop and change a bit and rest up our players, then I'm hoping that actually when it comes to winning season, it's our players will be fit and firing. That look, we've had all our injury bad luck this side of Christmas, and then we're good to go in the new year. So we'll see about that. So that's how I hope that one will pan out. But you said I like the fact that these are hopes, not guarantees. It's the hope that kills. So let's hope they're not all dead by the end of the season.
Is what I'm hearing from you there, mate. So
say that again.
What I'm hearing is, a little bit of pre-season for Kai, and then all of a sudden hat-trick against Chelsea, right?
Against Chelsea, absolutely. Double hat-trick. One on the week of the 12th and 1 week of the 2nd. Okay. Anyway, so my hope number 2 is that does the fact that we've played the majority of the toughest away fixtures sort of give you hope, so that we've got where we are? And again, we're top of the league. We've played... I was going to say these fixtures and we've lost. We played Villa away, we lost. Played Chelsea away, we drew. We played Man City at home, we drew. We played Newcastle away. Okay, we won that one. We played Man United away, we won that one. So we've had some big games, a lot of them away, and our rivals have to go and play tough games at those away. So does the fact that our potentially second half of the season is looking a bit more comfortable, shall we say? Not easy, but
that all the way through. Really, is that's the plus. That's a real plus point. I've always felt the fixture list looked like a good one for us this season, in a way. Get yourself in a good position by December, and you should be you should be strong. Yeah, I think it does 100%. That's about as much as I can say on this. I look at and I think in general the way that the fixtures are distributed for the rest of the season feels like there's a bit of a just get through these ones, they're not too bad, and then be right on it for a few games, and then again just get through these ones, do what you should do, get the result that's on paper. It does absolutely fill me with hope.
Yeah, I mean, I think May time is looking pretty good. Or the last 5 games of the seasons, I think I can't remember what it is. There's one.
You literally don't leave London for.
Yeah, there's one tough game, one tough away game. I can't remember.
But there's literally 6 weeks, I think it is, where we don't leave London because we're either at home, or I think we go to like West Ham, Fulham, and
all that sort of thing. Yeah,
for some. But we basically just like we're not leaving the North fucking Circular for a bit. Literally, the boys all need the European trips just to be able to get themselves out there,
stretch the legs.
Ends, So no, in all seriousness, there's a lot to like about the way that the fixtures fall, and there's a lot to like about the games that we've got out of the way.
Yeah, no, indeed. Well, again, let's hope it does fall in our favour. And hope number 3, a bit of a spurious one. This a bit of a just more. I don't know, just a sense. Is it our time? Despite everything, as I said, we've said this many times, we're still top of 2 leagues, and all that we've gone through so far, is all this just part of that journey? We got the own goals against Wolves, we got the last minute winner against Newcastle. Our disciplinary record's been incredible. We've got players coming back at the fixture list we talked about, full squad for winning season. Is everything falling? It doesn't feel like it at the moment, but do you get any sense that this is our time?
I so struggle with this.
no, you can say no. You can say no. You can. Yeah, what's your gut saying? So, what's your gut feeling? What's your gut feelings? What's your gut feeling for this season? It's like it's just part of the ride, but we're going to win it eventually.
I think that the combination of a little bit of luck in places and a lot of adversity to get through is something that's common with teams that win the league. This is again, it's how the sport works. It's very rarely won at a canter, an absolute easy street. It does happen, absolutely does happen. There've been campaigns that Premier League teams have had where they face very little adversity, or at least it feels that way, and they have won it at a canter, and teams just haven't been able to deal with them. and there hasn't been a great opposition. That's a thing. I think, I don't know that I think the probably the spin that I would put on it, or the bit that I'd take from it, is probably more of a from that point really. When you look at the opposition, I'm not massively worried about them. It is a feeling that if we do our job, then I think absolutely it will be our time. It's all, for me, you have to make it your time. There is your time. But perhaps the closest that I can get to understanding and kind of getting on side with it being our time is the fact that I think it feels very in our hands.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like against Pep, and it doesn't feel like, last season where so many things felt like they were pulling things out of our hands at certain times, and Liverpool just got so far ahead that it was never in our hands for the majority of the season. It is in our hands. We are top at the moment. And, the way that things look, if we play as we should do and get the results that we should do, then we'll win the league. So, it feels like it's ours to fail. And I know, you maybe don't like that as an element of pressure or whatever. And it's like, well,
no, it's fine.
This City team isn't good enough to barnstorm their way through. They're doing well at the moment.
Yeah.
Doku's
but they got a good run of fixtures. The people looking at it, it was always going to be after the international break. They had a comfortable run.
Doku's on a decent level. Foden is back in a bit of form.
Cherky's getting some
massive
goals
for him. Getting a Phil Foden back to being Phil Foden. He's not at the peak of his powers, but he is really close to it. That's a big deal for City because he's a hell of a footballer, and he might have been a joke last season, but unfortunately, these things do tend to only last for a bit of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, Haaland's Haaland, but they still have a lot of gaps.
Yeah, defensively, they're very leaky. If Palace could put
quality, and there's a change into the guard, and and that starts in midfield with them a little bit as well. So I'm not feeling like they're not a team that takes it out of our hands. It's going to be in our hands the whole way through. Okay. So. If we cock it up, we cock it up.
Yeah, I mean,
I do, and this is kind of the closest, I guess, to a point where I could understand if people called us botters.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, look, to be honest, if the hope that it is our season, and you feel it is our season, guess what? It makes it much easier to ride out the bad times because you said, "It's fine, it's just part of the journey. We're going to win it in the end, so don't worry. This doesn't mean anything." So it's maybe a coping mechanism as well until it's mathematically not possible. But anyway, that's cool. That's okay. So that's yeah. I think we've sort of there are some concerns, but there's also a lot to be hopeful for. So let's see. It's again how we're coming up to 15 games played, 16 games. So a long way to go. A lot can happen, but we are in a very good position. It is in our hands. So let's see what happens. So and next up is Everton. But before we get to that, just wanted to quick favour. If you can give us a nice little 5-star rating and a subscribe on your podcast apps or on our YouTube channel or wherever you watch or listen, it does help. It really is appreciated. So thank you. We do like it, and consider it a small Christmas gift from you to us as we gift you this pod. And whilst you're there, why not leave us a comment? Let us know what you're worried about from an Arsenal perspective and hopeful for, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And look, you can also follow us and find us on the socials at the Grove AFC. So let us know, what you're thinking, and yeah, it'll be interesting to know. And talking of comments, I wanted to give a shout out to one of our new listeners, a lad called Torin, who posted a comment on our YouTube channel after the. I think it was the hot off the pitch Bruges game. So thank you, Torin, for that. And apparently, it turns out he's in my daughter's A-level PE class at school. So it seems like my daughter Gracie has been spreading the word about the Grove podcast. So thank you, Gracie. So much so that we were an answer to a quiz question set by the PE teacher, Mr. Morris, who apparently is a Liverpool fan, during one of the PE classes. And in fact, before we started recording, Gracie sent me a photo from her PE class today. And Jamie, you and I are up on the big screen. uh, they had our YouTube channel and they were playing our instant reaction to the Bruges game in class today. So well, there you go. So I'm not sure what that says about the standard of education in the country, but yeah, I'm all for it. So and yeah, keep spreading the word Gracie and Torin. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, Mr. Morris. So there we go. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's go with the Everton preview. And yeah, so it's actually round 17. So 8 o'clock, another 8 o'clock Saturday evening. First time we're going to the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Yeah, a new interesting dynamic. Goodison Park has been a bit of an up and down place. You know, that can be a small ground, raucous atmosphere. You know, we've lost 3 times, I think, since 2020. We've won 2, drew 1, so a bit mixed. We've had a couple of days off, you know, and then gone into training this week. So we've had a bit of a week to run into this. So, you know, what are you looking forward to and not looking forward to as far as this game's concerned?
Not looking forward to the fact that they're decent defensively overall, Everton, and they're very, very good at I was going to say Goodison, but it's not Goodison, is it? What is their new stadium?
Hill Dickinson Stadium.
Hill Dickinson Stadium. Just rolls off the tongue, that one.
It does,
So yeah, at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, they've only conceded 9 goals in 8 games. They've only lost 2 at home this season in those 8 games. They look pretty strong there. So, and on the form table at the moment in general, I think they're 4th over the last 6 games. They're doing really quite nicely. And David Moyes, you know, yeah, he can be a tough bastard for us at times. Tends to go one of 2 ways. We either absolutely hoon his teams, or alternatively they get a bit of an upset normally during the winter. So yeah, it's that worries me a little bit. We are pitching up. We're not looking particularly free flowing. We're not looking particularly likely to score lots of goals, and we're pitching up at a gaff where the home team generally don't concede very many at all. So that's going to be an interesting game in that respect. What am I looking forward to? Always fun to see Arteta try and get one over his favourite boss. As I think he refers to David Moyes as being one of his most influential, or one of his greatest influences. So that's always kind of fun. And I suppose I'm looking forward to, as with a lot of things, kind of the more that players return and the more that players get a bit of game time. I would really like to see Noni Madueke play a bit of get a bit of game time. I'd like to see Gabby Jesus get a bit of game time, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see who takes the field, because we're getting to that point now where in the front 5 or front 6, whatever you want to call it, there's more kind of optionality. So let's see what those combinations are and see who can start making a positive impact.
Well, with that, what do you think the lineup will be? So of course, we're going to be without now Ben White for about 4 weeks, so until mid-January, and then Gabriel, Havertz, Mosquera out. Seems like the rest are available. I heard some rumours about Zubimendi. I didn't scratch beneath the surface on that. But so what do you? And hopefully, even though Saliba apparently was a bit on the edge for the Wolves game, hopefully after a week of R&R, he should be back. So what are you thinking that we do against Everton? What sort of team are you hoping for?
Saliba, Hincapié, Calafiori, I think will likely play this one. Timber, and then you go in midfield. If Zubi's even 75%, I think he'll play anyway for this one. I think he's pretty integral to what we need to do up there. Decky Rice, I think he'll go Merino all day long for this one in midfield.
Really?
I honestly think he will. I think he'll go. I think if you look at kind of the attributes and the players they've got there, and some of the lads like, is it Garner in midfield?
Well, I'll come to that because he won't be. AFCON. No, I'll come to that, but I'll come to their players. But yeah, the AFCON, so they're missing a few players. So actually, we're playing them at. We're playing. So who's?
I'm talking.
No. So basically, Idrissa Gana guy. He's on it.
I'm talking about the decidedly English fella.
Which one?
They've got a centre midfielder who's decidedly English, who's kind of box to box.
Do you know the name?
He's a bit like John McGinn. It's quite good. I think it's Ghana, isn't it?
Okay, I'll look at the team, but no. You got Idrissa Gana Guy, who's on international duty. Iliam Ndiaye, who's on international duty. Jack Grealish is potentially out with a hamstring injury. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, he's out with a hamstring injury. Jared Braithwaite,
he's having a very good season.
Jared Braithwaite out. Seamus Coleman.
Ghana, I'm on about.
I'm gonna have to look at this up while you're doing this. Anyway, look, they are missing players, and actually,
I'm not going mad. Like he's played pretty much every single game from this season. He started 16 games.
Foot mob. I just want to try and see who this.
They would normally have Ghana Guy as well, and then they would have Keenan Dewsbury Hall. And that
they're missing. We're playing them at a really good time because they're missing these.
That's good news to me because if the two of them, they're very energetic, they're very hardworking, they're very David Moyes midfielders, right? So I would.
Oh, Ghana. Sorry, so it's just your accent. Ghana. Sorry, I got you now. Yeah, I know the one.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Andrea. I shall pronounce in the Queen's English.
It's the Scottish in you. James Garner. Right, okay. Sorry. Well, look, you can see why I might mix it up with the other Garner. So there we go. Right, I've lost you now on the screen.
Fair enough, mate. All right. Look, the point being, they've got three very, very, kind of mobile and athletic and quite, well, it's not so much pace with them, actually. It's just they're up and down, running for days and quite physical players is normally what that midfield represents. So I maybe we still anticipate much the same templates are in there, and I would go for Mikel Merino in that particular position.
Okay.
So then and then on the wings, it's kind of interesting. It's going to be Saka. Mm-hmm. He's going to play away to Everton, right? Left, almost don't care who it is. They'll all be good.
Trossard should be back, hopefully. So I'd want Trossard back in.
Yeah, I mean, you'd love it to be Trossard, right? He's the man who's been dynamite for most of this season. Mm-hmm. So it's got, it would be if you're choosing. Striker though, yeah, I'm not joking. I'd give Gabriel Jesus a go.
Is he ready to start a game? Fit enough? Because you're saying give him 20 minutes. So I've got great. We'll substitute after 20 minutes.
He's played 2 substitute games now, right?
Yeah.
So and he's looked energetic. He's looked willing. And I just think at the moment I've got more confidence in him to have an impact on the game. Especially, and if I'm honest, the really weird thing when you think about the physical profiles is in a game like this where Everton will be really up for it and they have physicality about them. I feel like Gabriel Jesus, his hold-up play is just that much better. Honestly, I trust him to get on the end of something, make it stick and play somebody in a way that just is absolutely just feels beyond Gyökeres a lot of the time. So it's maybe driven a little bit by negativity towards Gyökeres, but there's also just the positives that Gabriel Jesus brings. The very specific attributes that he brings are the ones that I feel are missing from Victor Gyökeres. I don't necessarily need a striker that's going to be as clinical against Everton as much as if we can make sure that our build-up play and our possession play is good enough, then I think we'll get a decent number of opportunities. And actually, a lot of the time, you're looking for that player to be coming out of other positions with those kind of late runs against the kind of defence that Everton are to go and get those goals for you. So yeah, I'd put Gabriel Jesus there.
I reckon.
I don't think because
they've had a week.
I don't think he will.
Huh?
I would.
No. I think they've had a week. They've had the week off, so a couple of days off, and then they've been in training. I think what he saw maybe with Gyökeres and Trossard might give him food for thought. Yeah, against Wolves. I think maybe he's in not last chance saloon, but arm around the shoulder type thing. So okay, we've had a week. He said we need to get our players working for Gyökeres and Gyökeres working for our players. So I think you have a whole week to do that. Then you have to put this into play. I still think with Jesus still coming back, it's been out for a whole year to suddenly start away at Everton. It's not at home. Home game, then fair enough. Away to Everton. So I feel, as you said, the back four and Raya, that's fine. I think it's Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice all day, and then Saka, Gyökeres, and Trossard just because of what we've had the week off to work on things, to practice things, and and so on. So, but yeah, you're right. It could go both ways. So, right, you've had your chance, like Jesus, you're next man up. But I just still think it's a bit early for that. We've also got the Palace game on the Tuesday. That's maybe when Jesus will start, potentially. At home against Palace in a cup game that is not high stakes as such. So that's where I see that going. And then we're going to have options on the bench like Madueke, like Eza, like Martinelli.
False 9 against Palace, I reckon.
Hmm?
I mean, there's the Eza false 9 option as well.
Well, exactly. So
if I'm honest, but
yeah.
yeah.
And look, we see like Everton. Thank God they lost against Chelsea because at least they weren't top four. Because we seem to have an issue against top four teams. So they're lying in 8th, won 7, lost 6, drawn 3. So they're very middling. They scored 18, let in 19. They've won. The last 5 has been 1 lost, 1 lost.
They don't score is the plus side, right? They struggle for goals.
Yeah,
I think having Dewsbury Hall out will further impact that as well because he's one of their.
Well, this is it. I mean, so looking on FOTMob, their top-rated player is Ndiaye, then Grealish, then Dewsbury Hall, who might all be out. Their top scorers are Dewsbury Hall on 4, Ndiaye on 4, and Idrissa Gana Gueye on 2. All of them won't be there. And their top assists is Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, and Ndiaye. All of them potentially might not be there. Okay, Grealish may play, the doubtful one. I'm always doubtful about the doubtful, but then he has no one else around him to work with, and they don't have Calvert-Lewin to lump it up to. So I'm sure they've got someone else. So I said it seems like this could be again part of maybe things falling away, that we're hitting them at the right time, and usually teams play us at the right time. This is maybe a good chance to play them if we're going to play them away at that stadium. Yeah, let them be missing players. I don't think they are a low block team. Under Deitch, yes, come to us last season. That's different. Under Moyes, I don't think they are that sort of type of team. So yeah, I think this is a good time to play them, and. Yeah, let's see how we go. We're at a new stadium, so they don't have that. The new stadium doesn't tend to have that intimidation. It takes a while for that to work into place. So it's not going to be the same sort of gnarly Goodison effect. It's a nice new stadium, nice new pitch. We love all that. So, what are you predicting for this game?
I'm going to take a 1-0.
1-0.
Yeah.
1-0 to the Arsenal. You think we can hold on to a 1-0?
I think they don't pose tremendous amounts of threat. It's basically very reliant on Grealish. I think there's loads of talk that they're going to play Tyler Dibbling for this one.
Oh wow, okay,
which would be interesting because he's only played I think once or twice for him. He's been pretty absent, and it would be he's a big signing. I kind of half fancied him for the Arsenal, to be honest, as well. I quite like the lad.
Okay.
But he's also a player though that at the same time kind of threatens and looks fantastic, but at the moment has not yet developed any kind of particular end product. And the loss of quality in midfield in particular, I feel like what we should be looking to do, and again, this is a reason why I would potentially go Merino, is to go there and dominate their midfield. Because if they're turning up with like Igbonham, is that his name? Igbonham, I think, will step in. I think maybe Alcaraz. Like, there's a couple of midfielders they've got, but they're effectively only, if they're only going to have James Garner of the kind of the usual central trio, then I think we should really be looking to go there, absolutely dominate possession and try and just squeeze it and do it with pressure and try and break down this very, very good defence and absolutely be a threat on the transition somewhat, but. Again, who they got on that transition at that point?
Well, who else have they got? They've got potentially Dwight McNeil. You can flatter to deceive a bit. Right wing, left wing. Yeah. And then up front they've got someone called Barry. Not him, not from EastEnders, but Thierry Barry.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's pretty decent in fairness.
And Beto can cause troubles, but they seem to be having Barry up front. Beto. He's there. He's a bit of a unit, but I don't think he's away. I don't know if he's Guinea-Bissau, but I don't think he's away with AFCON. So
But they're not actually scoring goals, these fellas, anyway.
No, exactly. Yeah. Barry, I think, has got one. Beto's got one. But again, if you ever want a team to play and to get yourself back in form, usually it's the Arsenal. So let's hope we're not that version.
They're very David Moyes. They get a few out of set pieces and kind of stuff around, picking up around that. But yeah, I honestly, I think that's my kind of feeling, is that we go and we just squeeze it out, and we'll struggle to get that goal. We will have to work hard. It's one of those, we might end up, and actually I think I did see a stat, they concede more goals in the first half. They're kind of a bit of an early, you can catch them on the hop a little bit. And maybe I feel that way again about the sort of Gabby Jesus factor as well, of just go out there, just kind of dominate the midfield early, get a bit of pressure on them, try and catch them napping, and then effectively just squeeze that game going, you're not good enough to score goals against us, but we're going to do it by holding the bloody ball, not by inviting pressure on, not by trying to ride out some kind of Everton storm, because then it does just take that, what Dibbling and Grealish will have, if they do have time to be able to run in our box, is both of them are fantastic at trying to draw fouls. They will get opportunities that way. That's what I'd worry about from their attack, is they have got guys with quick feet that do like to go at you, and if they go at you time after time after time, eventually they get a little bit of luck. But I can see us just going and squeezing it. I think that's the desired outcome for me. I want us to go there and be mid-90s, like Italian side, away leg Champions League.
Very good. Well, look, I mean, I predicted 2-1. I'm a little bit worried about this game because it's Everton away, always a bit tricky, but I'm hopeful with the week that we had, the reaction post Wolves, just a chance to reset, draw a line in the sand. I think Arteta will want a reaction from our team, and it's weird. It feels like the Wolves was a lot. It's the most loss win we've ever had, the most weirdest win we've ever had, and I think the reaction, it felt like a loss even though we won. So I think we're going to need a reaction. It wasn't good enough on multiple levels. You could see that from Rice's reaction. You could see that from Arteta's comments in the press conferences and all the rest of it. So I think he's going to really want a reaction. We need to go and get a good statement away win. 8:00 in front of the TV. So I think we go and do that. So let's see. So thank you, Jamie, for your thoughts. I'll let you get back to your Christmas shopping.
Thank you.
And as I said, you can follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, visit our YouTube channel and TikTok, Instagram at The Grove AFC. We will be doing another one of our Hot Off the Pitch instant reaction live streams straight after the Everton game, which will be available on YouTube and possibly X. So keep an eye out for that on the socials, and again subscribe to at The Grove AFC, so you'll get a notification of that. We'll then do a main pod reaction on the Sunday, and as I said, if you enjoy what you hear, then give us a subscribe, give us a nice little comment, give us a nice little 5-star rating. We would really appreciate that, and it goes a long way. And thank you very much. Okay, well there we go. I'm a little bit worried, but very hopeful. Thank you for listening, and until the next time, come on you Gunners.